To kick football season off, we have the perfect guest, Jake Arians, former NFL kicker and son of Super Bowl winning coach Bruce Arians, who knows firsthand what it takes to earn respect in the game. In this episode, he talks about leadership, emotional intelligence, the highs and lows of his career, why hard work and sacrifice always pay off. Let's get started. Jake Arians, thank you so much for being on the No Gray Areas podcast. You probably hear this all the time, but I feel like I'm looking across the table at your dad.
Only if I do this. Right?
Yes,
you only ever see
totally.
hold the play sheet up.
Your eyes, and that's the same thing with my dad passed away in 2010, but people always say that. It's like right here, my eyes look just like him. It's like I'm looking at him on TV.
I hope that's a good thing. It's pretty intense. It's pretty intense sometimes when you're only seeing him on TV.
Well, you really saw the intense side of him probably, right? And father, son. Like
you know what's funny? That never came home.
Really?
The coach, I don't know why, but that didn't. He was just dad. So like it got intense.
Yeah.
If I was pissing off my mom or being a little turd or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But no, I mean the coach that you see on TV is not. The dad's actually quite an introvert, and he's pretty quiet. Like one of the biggest things I was concerned about of like his image and being his agent and those kind of things when he took over for Chuck in 2012 in Indy, going to his first press conference, I was like, man, he's shy.
Yeah.
How's this going to go?
Yeah.
Had him eating out of the palm of his hand, which you've seen, 12, 13 years later. He's phenomenal. But I didn't know how that was going to go. Talking to the team, he was nervous about.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to go great.
Yeah.
How's this going to go? When you talk to the media, it was spectacular.
Wow.
But yeah, that wasn't, him coming home was way more chill than the coach you see on TV.
Where are you at? And you have siblings, right?
Little sister.
Okay, you have a little sister, so you're the oldest?
I am.
Okay, by quite a bit?
3 years.
3 years?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so you and your sister grew up football.
That's it.
That's
live and die. That's how we eat.
Now, you played at every level,
Mm-hmm.
which very, very, very few of us get to say. I loved sports when I was younger, but didn't have the skill to play at every level. Just jumping right into our podcast here, what was the high point and low point of your career? Playing every level, football, you made it to the pros. High point, low point.
I'll answer it quick, and then I'll say my high point was actually something else. But my high point was I wanted to play 10 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
And have a Sports Center moment. In those days, remember, Sports Center was like, just rolled all morning, right? So I wanted to wake up and watch whatever that was if I was on it all day.
Yep.
Well, I kicked the game winner in Jacksonville on Thursday Night Football when it was still on ESPN. So my dad wasn't playing. He got to watch. That story's awesome. My friends, everybody got to watch. It was the only game on. And then Friday morning, we're back in Buffalo, and I watched Sports Center like 9 times. Yeah. Because I let it off and ended it. And I was like, this is the greatest
That
day
was
of my
your
life.
dream, and you did it. Yep.
The worst moment came 6 weeks later because I played my entire season in Buffalo injured. I tore my groin tendon off my pelvis. The coach's kids, you're trying to do whatever you're told, right? To the trainers say, do what the coaches say, and I shouldn't have been playing. I just mangled it. So by the time I got cut 6 weeks later, I didn't care form at that point. It was just whatever doesn't hurt is how I'm going to kick today. It was that bad. And got released. And that was probably the lowest point. Getting released from an NFL team should not be the lowest point of your career. I don't think. I mean, that's still a pretty awesome thing. I mean, it's heartbreaking at the time because you got there. But there should have been some other stuff that was probably worse. I still can't think of anything that's technically worse than that. The high point, though, rewinding that is actually, that's probably the high point. But another one that I wanted to mention is the last kick of my college career, the game ended. So we're in overtime in Tulane. I played at UAB in Birmingham. I kick a 38-yard game winner, and the game ends, season ends, my career ends.
That's how you walk off the field.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to go to the NFL. I remember being in the locker room going, dude, if that was it.
That's the way to go out.
Wow.
Yeah.
What more could you ask for?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Get emotional with that one.
No, man.
It was awesome.
I can see why, and you earned that emotion for sure. I always wondered what it would feel like because, again, not at that level, but I coached in my 20s at high school, and I remember the last year that I coached the soccer team I was coaching. We went undefeated, went in the state championship game, played the team that we had beaten twice that year, but they were good, and we lost in double overtime. I've always wondered. I've always been like, I just want to know what it feels like to walk off the field and you didn't feel the pain of a loss all season. I know I won't ever feel that. But that's kind of what you're describing is your point.
On the flip side of that, as a coach's kid, winning the Super Bowl, seeing your dad do that, and then losing one.
Yeah.
1-2 with Pittsburgh, lost one in Pittsburgh, and then he ends up winning one as a head coach. I mean, that was just stupid how awesome that was. The confetti coming down. Yeah. You're like, wow, this is what this feels like. I've dreamt of this. Yeah. But watching him win one, spectacular. You literally, when you grow up a coach's kid, you eat, sleep, breathe like this. We move. Dad comes home and says, "Hey, Dad got fired. We're moving."
Yep.
There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Like, we're leaving.
Yep.
To see him lose one like that, walking out of Dallas in 2010 with the Steelers lost to the Packers, and you're like, this is the worst feeling ever. Yeah. So to your point, it was just, my high school team actually went 30-0, won 2 state championships. When I moved from Kansas City to Starkville, Mississippi, ended up being a huge blessing in disguise. You don't think that's going to be a blessing, moving from Kansas City to Starkville, Mississippi. 9 guys off my high school team were at NFL training camps my second year in the NFL.
You're kidding.
22 D1 scholarships. I mean, we were unbelievable. So Jake, I know that feeling.
You got to feel that in high school and college.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Well, we didn't win a lot of games in college. We weren't great, but that last game that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. Let me jump back to something you just said, because I've always wondered about this, the firing. Because you said, like, when my dad would get fired, and that's just part of, if you're a head coach or a coach.
Coach, period, yeah. Head coach gets fired, the whole staff gets fired.
Yeah.
You might not have done anything wrong,
yeah.
But you're like, my dad always says, I've been fired 12, 15 times. No, you haven't. Like, you've been fired as a head coach at Temple.
Yeah.
Other guys got fired that you were working with, but you got fired too.
Is that something those guys have to work through or to learn to live with?
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of young coaches that I work with now and deal with that I've seen promotion, coordinator in the NFL, 40. Fired, assistant coach, fired, head coach gets fired, demotion, and they're thinking they should still be a coordinator. They had never gone through that coming up through the ranks. They struggle with it big time.
Yeah.
They can, but it's part of coaching. We talk about it so casually because it's just part of life. You get fired.
Yeah, well, and that was the way you said it.
I didn't realize my entire life that normal people don't get fired. My dad's never been fired. Your dad's been fired 10 times. He must be terrible at his job. Well, they're very different jobs, I realized later in life. But like Black Monday is the worst thing ever. That's, the Monday when the season ends and everybody's getting whacked. GMs, coaches, assistant coaches, whatever. I remind people every year when I had the podcast, we're on Twitter or whatever, like, these people have families.
Yeah.
You all think you're armchair quarterbacks. You're all, you're calling them every name in the book on Sunday. Nobody realizes the hours that these guys work or the passion that goes into it. But when they get fired that Monday and you're cheering about it, they got to go home and tell their kids, hey, we're moving again. They got to go home and tell their wife. Like, that is...
Yeah.
It's traumatic to a family for sure. I got pretty lucky. I went elementary school one place, middle school one place, high school pretty much one place. I moved in the middle of 9th grade.
Did you realize? Because I was going to ask about that.
My sister would have went to 4 high schools in 4 years. She had the bad stretch.
Wow.
So she ended up graduating early, so she didn't have to move when my dad went from Tuscaloosa the second time, Indianapolis in 1997. She graduated high school early and started the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
And that was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Oh, man, I bet.
A teenage girl in high school having to move.
Yeah.
And 3 different, from Starkville, Mississippi to New Orleans to Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Yeah.
And your dad is a prominent coach at the university, especially when you're talking about Alabama and Mississippi State. Like, he was with the Saints when we were in New Orleans, so it wasn't that big a deal for her. But I didn't realize it at the time, but it was horrible for her.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a tough time in people's lives no matter what. But then to have to move like that. What do you think you learned some valuable life lessons in watching your dad have to navigate the highs and lows of coaching?
No doubt. I mean, I think he's not a man of many words, and there hasn't been a lot of like true things that stick out. There's been a couple, but the biggest thing I remember is being in high school and him saying, "You never burn a bridge. You never know when you have to walk back across it."
Never burn a bridge because you never know when you have to walk back across it.
Yeah, that one was big because that sticks with you. Like, the coaching fraternity is small. You never know when you're gonna have to call that guy back and beg for a job. That's how you feed your family. Like, that would always stuck with me. Now, I think he got to the point where he probably wants to burn some now, and he might just bury that and let it go. He might. You never know with him because he's bulletproof now. He's kind of honest. He can do whatever he wants to do depending on the show. He might let it fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of those stories of like, getting wronged, but not burning that bridge because, that's literally how you feed your family.
That's got to be so difficult, though.
Oh, it's
got to be so difficult. Was that difficult for, like, did you know some of those times where he was wronged as a kid, or were you too young to know?
I knew a lot of them.
So you knew. That's got to be hard for you as a kid then. Like,
I mean, the people that did it still aren't my favorite people to this day. They don't really affect my life at all, but they did at the time. So you're just like, I probably know too much being around this game for 47 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's an interesting business, something I never thought I wouldn't be in. And I haven't been in really since I got done playing. I mean, the agent side, taking care of all his stuff, but never bit the bullet and jumped into coaching.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I didn't want to have to go home and tell my family we're moving every 2 or 3 years, whatever it is.
Because you said you're still, like, you watch the game different than most people.
Yeah, I see it different than everybody else. I've been
And is
around
that
it.
some of that your personality, or is that more growing up with your dad, or is it a little bit of both?
I mean, the cool thing with me and my sister didn't get to do as well was I was in locker rooms. I mean,
Yeah.
like, my basketball experience in life was going to practice with John Chaney at Temple because my dad was upstairs coaching, and I just walked down to the gym,
That's crazy.
and Coach Chaney was cool enough to let me hang out. They're going to the Sweet 16 playing Duke
Yeah,
with Mark
yeah.
Macon and those guys back in the day. I'm like, this is my experience.
Wow.
My first job was with the Kansas City Chiefs going to training camp in River Falls, Wisconsin. Marty Schottenheimer, Herman Edwards, Tony Dungy, Bill Cowher, my dad, Joe Pendry, Howard Mudd. That's the staff.
Wow. That was just like you just listed Hall of Famers there.
Derek Thomas, Christian Okoye, Barry Word, Neil Smith. Those were the guys on the team.
Wow.
Who I'm still close with a bunch of them now.
Yeah.
But I'm going into ninth grade. This is the summer after my 8th grade year. Like and I'm there for 6 weeks, 2-a-days, working 17 hours a day. My mom's like, "It'd be great. You could just spend time with your dad." We had dinner together every night, and I never saw him
Yeah.
for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Having dinner together was rare anyway. But hang out for 5 minutes before practice. I'm doing laundry 3 times a day, working 17-hour days. He's working 20-hour days because Marty Schottenheimer training camps for 2-a-days for 6 weeks. It's none of the stuff these guys have now, or no back-to-back 2-a-days and then 1 day off a week. It was going in ninth grade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I see it different. I've been around.
How old were you at that time? You said you were going
I was going in ninth grade.
Going into ninth grade?
14, 13.
Oh, man.
Brian Schottenheimer, funny enough, was kind of me, but he's like 5 years older than me. So he was kind of like graduating from being the ball boy and leaving. He was going to Kansas. He was a big star quarterback. And I kind of took his place.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to see him get his shot now with the Cowboys. Great guy. I'm happy as hell for him.
Yeah, yeah. How have you seen the game change? Because again, you're growing up, you're a coach's kid, you're really seeing the inside of the game, and every game morphs. How have you seen it change? And is it for the better?
It's interesting if we're talking NFL, we're talking college. The NFL game has...
Let's go with NFL first, yeah.
It's changed, but not a ton. The rules have really benefited the passing game. It's not as much run, although Philly just proved you can still run it, play good defense, kick people's ass and beat them up, and that's still a recipe. I think that'll always be a recipe for winning. But the rules have changed. If Dan Marino played today, he's throwing for 7,000 yards. Like there's guys that just were different.
I'm smiling because you used his name because I just read recently. I think it was Joe Montana who said that Dan Marino is one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time, and was saying that
there's the GOAT conversation and then there's the BOAT conversation. There's 2 different lists.
Yeah.
Very few are on both. But if you're talking about the best of all time, spinning a football, playing the quarterback position, he's top 3 no matter what. But he never won the Super Bowl, so like the GOAT conversation gets changed.
Yep. But to your point, if he played today because of the style of his game and how quick he could throw and everything, his release was amazing.
He was one of those guys that changed the NFL at that time. So the rules have played into that.
Yeah.
It's still get your best athletes in space, do what you got to do. Now, the college game and the high school game, completely different. Going from run the football, read option, to they still run the read option. People don't realize the shotgun stuff is really all the jet sweeps. That's just all the stuff that Navy's been running forever that we all ran in high school back in the day. It's just done at a shotgun in a different way. But it's still, take a third of the field away, maybe half the field away for the quarterback. The thing that drives me crazy with this is, though, I played quarterback until I realized my mom was 5'1", and I probably need to do something else, so I started kicking full time. I'm only going to be 5'10", was they don't call a play in the huddle. They don't change the play at the line of scrimmage in high school or in college anymore. I mean, Jared Goff on Hard Knocks had never been in a huddle and called a play in the huddle. I mean, as good as he is now, and he's a phenomenal leader, phenomenal quarterback, that was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. Him trying to regurgitate a play in the huddle, and it's on Hard Knocks. Like, I wish that for him that had never happened. He'd never been in one until he got in the NFL. Really? That happens all the time now. There's offensive linemen that have never been in a 3-point stance. They get drafted in the NFL.
Wow.
Like that part. So like college, high school has changed a ton. And now NIL and...
Yeah. How do you think that's changed it, the NIL?
I'm okay with NIL, but you can't have the NIL and the portal at the same time. You can't coach anybody anymore. At the end of the day, 1% of them are going to the NFL. Yeah, you might make some money while you're in college now, but you were a coach. Your biggest duty is to help a young man become a man, learn a life lesson, become a better person. Let me say, the person I think is doing the best job of it now that can actually get on his players hard is Dion, is Coach Prime. He gets on their ass.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way where he's not cussing. There's a respect factor there.
Yep.
My dad was like, I couldn't coach today.
Yeah.
And all the guys I talked to now are young. Like, you mess up,
They
whether it's
couldn't
off the
coach
field or
today
on the
because
field. They're going to get on that kid, and he's like, I'm transferring.
Yeah.
There's no accountability.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, and that's too bad, isn't it? Because that's part of the whole purpose of the sport. Because to your point, if only 1% of them are going to play at the next level, then what are you training the other 99%?
Then make sure they
for?
get their college degree and they're ready for life afterwards. A lot of them don't have dads. You're that father figure to them. Be that, but you can't.
Yeah.
Because they're also babied. They can just transfer with the portal. So like, if you're going to pay them and have NIL, I think the portal should go back to you have to sit out a year if you're going to transfer. Yeah. One of the two. Like I'm big on you can't have both open the way that it is now. It's changed the game too much.
Because they're able to just jump around all they want.
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, I think I saw
as soon as a coach hurts their
one quarterback that won a bowl game this year was at the same school he started at. Wow. One. There's like 50 bowl games.
Yeah.
Like that can't be the case. I mean, I remember guys, oh man, we got this transfer. Well, that means he screwed up.
Yeah.
Wherever he went.
Yeah.
And you had to transfer after that.
Yeah.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode so far. Be sure to like and subscribe to not miss a future podcast. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
So you were talking about how good you see things before they happen. Like you could pick games. You don't gamble, you said.
I don't, but I've picked them for the last 11 years pretty successfully.
Yeah.
Whether behind the scenes or on a podcast that I used to have.
Yeah. So why would you pick them? Just for...
I started doing it for the podcast, and then I've been a source for a buddy of mine that's a big, prominent writer in the country. He had to start putting them out, and so he calls me every week on Tuesdays. We've been really successful. So before the injury reports come out, all that kind of stuff.
So what would be the difference between you and me picking a game? Why would you be so much better? Because I'll throw myself under the bus. I'm not good at it. I have some buddies that gamble, and they'll call me up sometimes, and they're like, we just want to find out who you would pick so we know that we went with the opposite. We're going to be right.
Experience and no loyalty. I mean, every time we got fired, you throw all that, you give that stuff away. Goodwill's getting a big pile of, whatever that is, and we're getting new gear whenever we get to that town. Everybody's like, what's your favorite team? I was like, I played at UAB, and I was born at Virginia Tech and Blacksburg. That's it.
So you really have no loyalty. When you're picking, you're not...
Dan Marino is my favorite player, but I don't root for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Like, it's just never been there. So I have no... And I never picked my dad's games. So, like, that was because I didn't want to have that.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, I think experience. I think the people that I've been around, which are at such a high level, and playing it at a high level, and just soaking a lot up. And then I think playing a lot of different positions, playing the quarterback position for a long time, allows you to see things a little bit differently.
So you played quarterback in like junior high school?
Junior high, so like so 7th, 8th, 9th, I never came off the field. And this biggest high school in Missouri, in Lee Summit at the time, quarterback, safety, kicked off, punted, punt return, whatever. I moved to Starkville, Mississippi that freshman year, and I got to go out for spring ball, and it's varsity. And I'm like 5'4", 108 pounds, soaking whatever it was. And I'm like, dude, these are grown men. I just watched a dude bench 315 in there who's playing nose tackle, right? I think I'm going to focus on kicking a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was kind of our emergency quarterback. Like I graduated high school at 165, played my sophomore year in college at 205. Like I needed that. I was a 3-sport athlete and never went through an off-season program. So once I did, I gained that 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And I needed that then. Like I wish I'd have played college baseball. I wish I'd played high school baseball 1 year later, gaining that 30 pounds as a catcher, but just the power, the strength, the stuff that came along with that was pretty awesome. But I wasn't ready, especially when I talk about how good that team was.
Yeah.
I mean, one, I wouldn't have played quarterback. Yeah. Both of them signed D1 scholarships. One was a first-round pick of the Green Bay Packers, Antoine Edwards, years later at playing safety. But I think all those experiences, the people that I've been around, I just see it different.
How about the head game? Because, again, you did quarterback and kicking in both of those positions. There's a lot of times where the ball's in your hand, you're winning and losing this game.
And catching.
So
this is why I loved playing baseball. It's probably the most fun I ever had because you control the game.
Yeah.
As a catcher, you're calling pitches.
So all three of those positions.
It's funny because I hate kickers. My dad hated kickers until I became one. I always said I was an athlete that happened to kick.
Yeah.
So Chris Brown that kicked at Nebraska before, like kind of same era as me, playing the NFL for a long time. It's kind of one of those guys I really looked up to. I was watching him play maybe his freshman year. I was maybe a junior in high school. Nebraska's playing. They're really good. Like late 90s, so like mid 90s. And they're like, man, he ran a 4.5. He lifts with these guys in the off season. Like, he has respect of his teammates as an athlete. And I'm like, that's me. If I got a kick, I'm going to be an athlete that happens to kick. So I really looked up to him. He was an emergency quarterback, ran the option in high school, that kind of stuff. And I was like, all right. So I trained with linebackers and safeties. Ended up getting hurt doing stuff in the off season a couple times. But I had the respect of my teammates before I had to go do my job. I also read stuff about the San Francisco 49ers winning a Super Bowl in the 90s. And the kicker and punter, the team voted not to give Super Bowl rings. They ended up getting them, but they went to practice and then went and played golf every day.
Wow.
Their teammates didn't see them as one of them.
I didn't know that. So the team actually was voting to say they don't get rings.
Yeah, they ended up getting them. They didn't listen to them. But players went and said no. And I'm like, that's never going to be me. I'm an athlete. I'm one of your teammates. If we have 5 o'clock in the morning drills in college, I'm there working as hard as anybody else. Mm-hmm. Then if I go kick a game winner, I'm one of the guys. Like, I was already seen as one of them. And if you missed that game winner, which I thank God I never did, it was okay. It wasn't a freaking kicker. Yeah. That was never my thing. Yeah. But that I think all of that, because you wanted to play quarterback, you wanted to play, you wanted to catch, you wanted to kick, the head stuff never bothered me. I was like, oh my, there's so much pressure. Yeah. No, it's not. It's just another kick. Yeah. If you think about all that stuff, it can be, but. Is that what you would do when you'd go out there? Is it's just another kick? You just go through the routine. Yeah. I mean, it was, and you gotta want that. Yeah. I mean, if you're like, oh, what's going to happen if I miss? Yeah. Well, then you're in a bad place. Yeah. When I make this, dude, I'm getting carried off the field. This is going to be awesome. Yeah. I got lucky enough to do that 3 or 4 times. It's pretty cool. Yeah. That's got to be a really fun way to go off the field. And it was cooler because I had the respect of my teammates already. I was already one of them. I was never looked at as a kicker. Like I said, I hate that word. Like it was, there's certain guys that are kickers, and then you got the Justin Tuckers and the Vinatieri. Some of these guys are like, they're athletes. Yep. Like phenomenal athletes. They just happen to be that much better at kicking than anything else by the end of doing it. What made you, that's kind of interesting because there's a little bit of there's probably some of your personality with that, but maybe some of the way you were raised, or I don't know, maybe a core value. I didn't play football until 7th grade. I played soccer year round. Why did you want the respect of your teammates? Why was that so important to you though? Because I saw kickers not have that. And I was like, if I'm on this team, and I played safety and I played quarterback and I was that guy. Like if you're those 2 positions, you're a leader on the team. Yeah. You can still be that as a kicker. Yeah. But you got to earn that and all the stuff. Because people don't, it's not just the 2 or 3 hours on Saturday. You've spent all week, you've spent all off season. You were at 5 o'clock in the morning, practices, puking, with all the rest of the guys. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. You're just one of the guys at that point. I don't know why, probably personality wise, just being around all those locker rooms and seeing guys that weren't treated the same and not liking it. Like I'd never want to be that guy. See, and that's why I asked you the question, because you've seen the same thing. You see those people that they wouldn't even notice. Mm-hmm. There's some people that if they don't care what their teammates think about them, they go in the locker room, they don't even notice that they're being treated differently. Yeah. So you're noticing. So that tells me that there's something in your personality or a core value that you have that when you're going to the locker room, you're watching how the teammates are treating each other. And you're very I think a lot of that came from being in a locker room my entire life. Yeah. So on that note, what do you think emotional intelligence, where does that play in the role of a coach or a teammate? Because like I said, again, you're noticing what's going on. I'm assuming your dad as a coach probably was pretty good at noticing what's going on with players. Does emotional intelligence have quite a bit to do with coaching, would you say, or not so much? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's not just the X's and O's. I think it's more personality, handling your guys, and being a true leader, which is not always rah-rah. I mean, some of these, super rah-rah guys see right through. I think the thing that made my dad great that I realized later on, a couple things, but the biggest thing was they always knew where they stand. You might not like the answer, but you're getting an honest one, no matter what. There's never anything fake. Well, if you're always real to me, I can't help but respect you. It's true. Period. End of story. And if you have that goes a long way, especially when you've earned the credibility with that. The biggest thing I see in him was the last thing Coach Bryant told him before he left Alabama to take the job at Temple. He was the youngest head coach in Division I history at the time at 30. Really? Yeah. And he's like, coach him hard and hug him later. Coach him hard and hug him later. I didn't know what that part meant. Because coach him hard, my God, the things I've heard come out of that man's mouth are bad. Like, we're not putting that on any podcast, and hopefully nobody has any footage of it anywhere. I got a really hard job to do as an agent. But it was the part after that of the slap them on the ass, put your hand around their neck, tell them to love them, and watch them go from, like, shrink tiny to bigger than life. Yeah. That's what made him so good. They knew that respect was already there because it was always honest. Yeah. If you're honest with yourself, and as a player, as we all know, did I screw that up? Did I have a bad practice? Was I half-assing it? Whatever it was. Yeah, Well, if you got called out for it from a man that you respect, who's always honest with you, and then he slaps you on the butt, puts his hand around your neck, tells you love you, we're going to get it tomorrow. That's what made him so different. And because the guys that don't have the respect, the fakeness, the rah-rah, some of that stuff, that's how you lose locker rooms. And you see it every year with guys get coaches or guys get jobs, and you wonder why he was a great coordinator, not a good head coach. I think there's a lot of that stuff with it. But I think emotional intelligence comes into reading people and being able to relate to all of your different players. Yeah.
Boy, you just said something I think is fascinating. I could talk to you for hours, man.
Let's do it.
Part
two.
You talked to, yeah, for sure. But you said they could be a great coordinator, but not a great head coach. And that's an interesting statement. Is there a big difference?
Not to everybody, but you see it every year. How many guys get fired in the NFL every year?
That's
Seven or eight jobs come open every year. And then the next young fad, the next young quarterback, whisperer, whoever it is, gets hired. Man, there's a huge difference in just handling an offense and then standing in front of an entire team.
Yeah.
How you handle them on game day, how you handle them on the routines, how much goes into the offseason, what your schedule looks like, how much rah-rah fake crap is there, and how real are you? You're talking about grown men making a lot of money. They don't have to respect you. You better earn that. And I don't think everybody lives by accountability and what I say goes, and I'm always going to be honest with you. I don't think enough people have that part.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessarily a coordinator head coach thing, but I think it's more of that emotional intelligence, personality. How do you relate to everybody? Not everybody's cut out to be a head coach.
Yeah.
You see it every year.
Yeah.
Great coaches, phenomenal coordinators.
Yeah.
But it's more, that's X's and O's. That's what they are. They're in their lane. You give them too much to handle. I think a lot of these young guys too, right now it's a big fad of young offensive coaches getting head coaching jobs. Well, they call plays for a year. They're just getting used to doing that. Now you're going to give them a head coaching job. Have to put an entire offseason together, which they have no idea how to do. And now we're on Sundays, we expect them to call plays to be the head coach.
Yeah.
And you see a bunch of them, the plays coming in a little bit late. And the quarterback's going like this. He's got too much going on. He wasn't ready for that in the first place, but he was the young, hot thing. And these owners, these billionaires, God bless them, man, they can get a little, overzealous.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're explaining that, it makes me realize, and I know you would agree with this, Jake, but everybody that has a job, they are doing something that probably most people have no idea, all the details that go into it. I would suspect that it's especially true of a head coach. Of like, we see them on the weekend with their headsets on and they're bored and they're whispering their plays and stuff into that, and we think that that's it. But like you just threw out a couple of things like planning the off season. And I'm sure there are so many things that our audience has no idea that goes into coaching.
Oh, that's why a lot of former players don't become coaches. They have no idea how hard it is, the hours they work. My dad started this internship program when he was here with the Cardinals of former players coming in training camp, and then one or two of them getting a full-time internship for the year, hoping to get more minority coaches, but more former players into coaching. And if there's 8 of them for training camp, only 1 or 2 of them want that by the training camp's over. They're like, dude, I had no idea. The coaches work this hard. I didn't know it. They were in there at 6 a.m. and they're leaving at midnight, like 3 or 4 days a week. Like, what goes into all of this stuff? But yeah, there's so much that goes into, just planning an off-season program. What days off?
Yeah.
I think the other thing my dad was really big on because of the accountability was knowing who his leaders were in the locker room and talking to them and trusting them, getting that feedback and them knowing that his door is always open and whatever's said in here is between us. This is an honest conversation. You have my respect because I've always been honest with you, and tell me what's going on in the locker room. It's your team, not mine. You've heard him say that all the time. It's your team, not mine.
Yeah.
You're the one policing the locker room. But they got to have the freedom to be able to do that. I think that's another thing that made him really successful.
Man, that is such a huge life lesson, and I think something that any listener that's running a business or anything, I'm convinced that most HR organizations, the book, the policy manual is built around the bottom 10% of the employee. So, you got the bottom 10%, they do something, so you write a new rule. And pretty soon you've got 150 pages of these stupid rules that are just based on the ones that you should have just fired them.
Yeah.
So what you're saying that your dad would do is he would go in and he's not looking at the bottom 10%, he's looking at who's the top 1 or 2%. And he needs to win them over in the locker room.
Well, he's got a lot of credit, and duly so, for hiring, he's the first head coach to have 2 black coordinators, first coach to ever hire a woman. Then wins the Super Bowl with 3 minority coordinators, a minority head coach, and 2 full-time women on the staff.
Wow. Didn't know that.
And while that's a huge thing and a massive milestone in the NFL and probably what he's going to be known for more than the wins, he'll say it all the time. I find the best people and I hire the best people. I don't care their color. I don't care if it's a woman, whatever. Because coaches are teachers at the end of the day, is what he always says. If they can teach and they can help my guys, and that's all the guys want. If you can make me better, I don't care if you're black, white, purple, man, woman, whatever it is. You make me better, I'm going to listen. And that was always big for him, was that not the bottom 10%. I don't want a guy because I have to fill a tight end coach. I'm finding one of my guys that I trust that I know is good is going to do the job.
And even you're saying he's even doing that with the players, though. He's recognizing who are the leaders in the locker room. And if he wins them, If he has an open door policy with them, he knows that he has a better chance of winning.
They're your
the team.
coaches of the locker room. You've been in locker rooms.
Yes.
There's a lot goes on that coaches don't know about.
Yep.
If you got the wrong guys in there, and we see it all the time now, but social media has changed so much of what we know about behind the scenes. And you think talented teams are really bad on Sundays? They have bad culture in the locker room. Philly apparently had some phenomenal stuff going on. Jalen Hurts is a quiet leader in a really tough town. But they had some phenomenal leaders on that. But a lot of those guys were young. They had some rookies that were stepping up as leaders this year. But their locker room was tight. They were accountable to each other. Yeah. They had a goal. And that wasn't coming from Sirianni. A lot of it was. He did a hell of a job. But they built a really good culture in that locker room. It kind of takes care of itself. But you got to help it take care of itself if you're the coach.
This is why this is such a fascinating conversation, because the culture in the locker room is the same thing as there's the culture that you have at a workplace
it's no different.
In a family. There is a culture.
Absolutely.
That you're creating as the leader. And that's not necessarily going to be what you wrote down on the wall and said was going to be your culture. It was the behaviors of the team.
Yeah, you can. My dad's big thing was trust, loyalty, and respect.
Trust, loyalty, and respect.
Yeah, and you got to trust the man next to you. You got to trust the process. The things that go along with that. He gives a great speech on that. Was the first speech of first day every year of training camp, and that was it's around the building and it was on T-shirts and stuff. And there's every organization has that.
Yep.
But if you're not living that yourself, then it's just words on the wall. That became a mantra for all of his teams that every guy got. And it's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
But not everybody gets that.
Yeah. A lot of times less is more, though, when it comes to those core values or those beliefs or those behaviors that we're insisting on having for a culture. Yeah. So I like that. Really simple. He had 3 of them. Did he carry that through most of his career?
Started in Arizona, took it to Tampa with him. That was it. That was the thing the organization's built on. And that's the respect. Respect everybody. Respect the janitor. Respect the people serving your food. Respect everybody that's in the building. There's a whole business side of people selling suites and selling tickets and doing stuff that runs an NFL organization that most players don't know about. But if they're in this damn building, they're helping us win. Respect them all. Trust all of them. Trust that they're doing their job. They're trusting you to do yours.
So good.
It's pretty simple stuff. And then being loyal to that cause. And you can get too deep with it. You can get, weight, but it's pretty simple. If you follow those things, he averaged 10 wins for eight years as a head coach. It was pretty successful with how that worked. I'm
looking forward to having him on here too. He's going to come on at some point. And
for sure.
You guys, if I can get you off the golf course sometime when he comes down, we'll get him on because I can't wait to pick his brain on some of the stuff. What are some of the lessons that you learned either in the locker room as a player, as a coach's kid, that have helped you in life around choices? So we talk about, on No Gray Areas, we talk about we make our choices and eventually our choices make us. This is true. That's part of being human.
Absolutely.
So what are some lessons that you learned in the sports world, whether you were a player or a coach?
It's funny because they all apply to everything the rest of your life. But I think why sports are so important and why every kid should play sports, whether they're good at it or not. And not everybody's going pro. Some of these parents drive me crazy. Just put them in and hopefully I had some phenomenal coaches that weren't my dad. My dad never coached me, but I had some great ones that taught hard work. There's never a substitute for hard work. Hard work always pays off. Sacrifice always pays off. Tough times make tougher people. If you don't know what you can go through, you quit too early. You see it, this generation, it just drives me. There's no sacrifice. I remember we full court pressed in 8th grade. And the first 45 minutes of every practice was running suicides because we had to be in that kind of shape to full court press the entire game. I look back on that now as a 47-year-old man. That shaped me.
Yep.
And they sucked.
When they're telling you to line up again.
Yeah, listening to Jocko Willick's podcast and Navy SEAL stuff, which I've been fascinated with my whole life. He's like, it's discipline, it's not motivation.
Yep.
There's not one part of you that's motivated to get back in that water in Hell Week. It's discipline of hoorah, I'm jumping my ass back in this water.
True.
And not one man wants to get out from under that boat and get back in the water.
And I love Jocko Willink. You mentioned him. I follow him on Instagram. I love every day. He's got a picture. It's like 4:03 and he's got a picture of
he earns the sunrise.
On his,
That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at it either.
Yeah.
But I have a lot more. I think, and maybe because I'm just getting old, but maybe it's, I don't see that in the 15 to 25-year-olds that I run across now.
Yeah.
They've never had to, they go home and I never went home and my mom and dad about how hard practice was. They wouldn't have cared. They just told me to go back and do it again because apparently it wasn't hard enough if I'm complaining about it. Yeah. Now all I see is, we're going to go in and they want to complain about practice. I'm so sorry, honey.
And then
maybe you should
quit.
Quit.
They're going to go talk to the coaches. About,
That's not real life. Going back to what sports teach us, only 1/10 of 1% go pro. 1% sign a Division I scholarship, and that's football. what is it? It teaches you life. It teaches you that tough times happen. Get your ass off the ground and keep moving. That's the biggest thing.
I love that you bring that up, because I think almost every, boy, I'd have to think about this a little bit, but I think most every life lesson that I have today that I think, I don't know that there's hardly any of them that I didn't learn at some point through sports.
Absolutely.
And I didn't do it near the levels that you did,
Yeah, but
I didn't
you had coaches.
But you
had people, and you also had the permission from the coach. But the coach had the permission from the parents to be a coach, to be a mentor in your life, to be hard on you when it was time to be hard on you. I mean, it's like, I want to write a book that life's not a participation trophy.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
Yes.
There's wins and losses. Yep. You know what? You learn just as much from losing as you do from winning.
Yep. Sometimes more.
Absolutely.
Even though I hate to say that, because the winning is way more fun. But
it is, but maybe you don't learn as much. But you have to learn to win and lose, because that's every day.
Yeah.
Life's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not.
And you learn that in sports. You learn that life's not fair. In fact, sometimes
you lose, you walk across and shake his hand. You win, you walk across and shake his hand. Period. End of story. That's how it is. You learn that.
And then ownership, again, you're talking about Jocko. One of my favorite books is Extreme Ownership that he wrote. You like it? Yeah. I love that book. Well, that's one of the things you learn if you have good coaches that are telling you in sports. So you had a bad referee, and we've all had coaches that told us this in the locker room afterwards. We're whining about the ref's bad calls, and then the coach helps us understand the extreme ownership side of things.
Those 3 plays did not lose the game.
Those 3 plays inside the game.
Yeah.
You dribbling it off your knee and you having 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter, that lost the game for us. But that's that ownership. There's so many life lessons that you learn like that from sports.
I don't think there's another substitute in life. I mean, the military, but that's long after most of us are done playing sports. You're not joining until you're 18. I think that's why so many business owners look for people that played, college sports, were in the military. That discipline, that sacrifice, they're there. Yeah. I mean, it's built in. I don't think you have to look for it, because if somebody played 4 years of college sports, there was discipline, there was sacrifice. I say all the time, my wife with me, then this just flies out the window. If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. You run till you puke a couple times in college, and you realize your butt's going to be there 5 minutes before you're supposed to be minimum. Yeah. That means you're on time. Yeah. Now, we all get married later in life and have daughters and other things that doesn't necessarily apply, but that's how I've lived my life. But that's one of the things you learn in college. Like that was, and as a business owner, as somebody later, that's who I want to hire. I don't want to hire somebody that's making excuses of why they're 10 minutes late every day.
Yep, you're totally right.
That's two different personalities.
So many
period,
of those
right
things
there.
cross over. Yeah. So you were talking about before we turned the mics on. You're a little bit of an entrepreneur, not a little bit. I think you're a lot of an entrepreneur.
Kind of serial at this point.
Yeah. just doing a lot of things, working for yourself, and a lot of things, figuring things out. How would you define an entrepreneur?
As we're wrapping up this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment on something you'll take away. All right, let's hop back into the remainder of the episode.
How would you define an entrepreneur?
I love business plans. I don't know why, but it just kind of became something later on in life. That's something I can see something. I think it probably goes back to coaching. Everything in my life has been a game plan. Here's the game plan for the week. Let's go execute it. I think the same thing with looking at any business plan. I think one of the things I'd be a great job would be like a consultant of come in and tell me what you see. I'm going to teach you about my business. Tell me what you see that's here and there wrong. I don't have this business. It would be fun. But I think you just see it different because it's like a game plan.
Oh, man, you were probably looking at me going, did I just lose him? Because I was looking at you, but I was thinking what a great idea that is, especially when I'm going back to what you were saying about how you see, like you're pretty good at it. You don't bet, but you
seeing games, just picking them.
Yeah, picking games, yeah. But that's what you do if you're picking games, is you're going in there and you're trying to see things that other people are going to miss.
Yeah.
But to go in as a consultant to a business,
I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I kind of see that with all my businesses. I look for something in business or an opportunity that I have that's a niche that I might be able to fill that's not there. Yeah. And that's kind of what is, whether it's real estate, medical sales. At one point, I've had a diamond business for 21 years, which is a crazy story. I'll tell in part 2 of how I got into that. And that's been a side business forever. And then represent my dad and run our family foundation. But always looking for something, and I got my hands. I also can't sit behind a desk and do one thing every day. I've been ADD my whole life. That's not changing anytime soon. I couldn't do the same thing every day.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. I knew I liked you. As soon as I met you over here, I knew I liked you. Well, Jake, we need to have you back. We do need to do a part 2. We were joking about it, but we have so many things that I wish we could cover. And I just got the signal a little bit ago that we're close to out of time here, so we have to wrap it up. But I've got a bunch of stuff on here I didn't even start to ask you about yet. So we got to have you back sometime.
Let's do it.
All right. But let's do this to finish off, the 2 truths and a lie. Our audience has heard you here for about 45 minutes or so. We think we know you a little bit, so you're going to give us 3 statements. 2 are going to be truths. 1 will be a lie. Let me see if I can guess it.
So I had a knee replacement at 42.
Okay.
My grandmother turns 100 in March, and I've been to 6 Kentucky Derbies.
Wow. Okay, those are good.
I wanted them interesting and bland at the same time.
Those are really good. I got to go with the knee replacement is true, just because you played sports at it. So I'm pretty sure.
I thought that one might be a little too easy. So yeah, you're on.
I got it right.
But at 42 is still.
I know that was where I was kind of stuck, because there was part of me that was saying, well, that probably would have been more in your 20s or 30s. You had a knee replacement.
Yeah, I had a partial knee replacement at 42.
Wow.
I was completely bone on bone, 100% arthritis, and needed to be done. That's not my good leg.
From your sporting days?
Catching, and then that was my plant leg. Yeah, just that medial meniscus was rocked.
Yeah, your plant leg, so it's not your kicking leg. Yeah. That's the one. Is that usually the one that a football player or a kicker
so a lot of guys have hip problems on that leg because it's just that steady pounding.
So
but
torque.
Then,
yeah.
But yeah, that's
okay. All right, so down to a 50-50 chance here. Grandma's 106 Kentucky Derbies. I'm going to say your grandma's 100. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I got it.
It is. You got it. I've only been to 4 Kentucky Derbies.
Really? Yeah. Okay, that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah. That was
Were they fun to go to? Like, would you recommend?
They're a blast. If you want to go to Kentucky Derby, go the day before the Oaks.
Yeah.
It's half the people, just as much fun, but you can actually get in line and bet.
Yeah.
You can move around a little bit, but it is, if you're a sports fan, man, it is, it's just different.
Those horses are so beautiful, aren't they?
Ton of fun.
They're so
it's
beautiful.
ton of fun. I mean, the culture of the place,
Yeah.
Churchill Downs is a pretty special place, but yeah.
Grandma's 100, though. Is it your dad's side or mom's side?
My dad's mom, yeah.
Your dad's mom, 100. Is she still doing pretty well? She's
her body's failing. She's a big German woman, but she's still sharp as a tack at 100, man. Hopefully.
That's amazing.
Hopefully,
so you got a lot of years ahead of you.
We'll see. We'll see. There's another side of the family. My mom's dad died when I was 3 at 64, so
okay.
I got a little bit of both, but that's going back to the daily routine and taking care of yourself. I got a newborn I need to be around for. So.
That's right. Well, congrats on that newborn, by the way. That's amazing. Yeah. So fun. Well, thank you so much for being on here. We're going to have you on again, okay?
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Wow. All those lessons Jake talked about hit home, whether you're on the field or navigating life's challenges. As Jake says, life doesn't hand out participation trophies. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to never miss a future episode. We'll see you next time at No Gray Areas.